Since 2006, Daniel Craig has played the role of James Bond. He's appeared in 5 films and is considered one of the best to play him as well. I could sit here all day and talk to you about how I think Casino Royale and Skyfall have changed the game for future 007 films, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. You see, before Daniel Craig was James Bond, he starred in a movie called Layer Cake. It was directed by Matthew Vaughn, who's now known for Kick-Ass and The Kingsman films. It's a film that weaves a complex narrative filled with twists and turns. It's also known for its sleek cinematography, memorable characters, and a soundtrack that is not only, sorry for the pun, kick-ass, but gives off its own atmosphere of cool. But how did all of this happen? Well, sit back, take it all in as we dive into WTF happened to this movie. Before we begin, I think it's only proper to explain to you what exactly a layer cake is.
Yes! Please?
No, we're not talking about the cake that's stacked with multiple layers that's held together by some sort of filling. The title here refers to the layers or levels anyone in business goes through in rising to the top. It's revealed as a modern underworld where the rules have changed. There's no codes or families, and respect lasts as long as a line.
Welcome to the layer cake, son.
Back in 2000, British author J.J. Connolly debuted his novel Layer Cake. It takes place in the 90s and is narrated by an unnamed drug dealer who plans on leaving the life of crime and wants to live a life as a gentleman of leisure. Unfortunately, his retirement plan from the crime world is interrupted when a shipment of ecstasy is stolen. His boss charges him with the task of recovering the missing daughter of a wealthy socialite, as well as dealing with the people who want the drugs back. The book is absolutely fantastic and makes for a very good read. The film follows a very similar plot, minus some changes that we'll get into. It also takes place in the present day England, which would have been the 2000s. Also in the late 90s and early 2000s, Matthew Vaughn, a then British producer, was starting to make a name for himself. He had just worked as a producer for a low-budget thriller, The Innocent Sleep. He would then continue as a producer for his close friend Guy Ritchie on his upcoming film Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. It was a critical, popular, and financially successful film. Guy and Matthew worked so well together that he would also help him produce the critically acclaimed film Snatch, as well as the universally panned film Swept Away. Matthew knew the ins and outs of the business and thought it was finally time to make his own movie, and of course be rid of the putrid taste in his mouth of Swept Away.
This fish is bad. It's off.
Bad? In that case, if you don't want to eat it, you probably want to wear it. Now it doesn't look so bad, madam.
Matthew wanted to direct an adaptation of Layer Cake. He loved the story and especially the characters. J.J. Connolly was hired to adapt his own screenplay. The first draft of the screenplay was 408 pages long. Mind you, the novel was only 344 pages. For the main protagonist, J.J. would designate him as XXXX until he could think of a suitable name for the character. In the end, he decided that Quadruple X didn't need a name for the story to be effective.
My name? If you knew that, you'd be as clever as me.
So let's talk about the differences from the novel to the film. Quadruple X and his hired gunmen are waiting in a park to kill the off-screen main antagonist, Dragon. While in the park, they shoot an American tourist, mistaking him for Dragon. The movie was going to play out the scene the same, but on the commentary track, Matthew Vaughn states that Sony Pictures didn't feel comfortable with killing an American and asked for the scene to be changed. So in the film, Dragon snipes Quadruple X's hitman before he takes the shot at the tourist. Matthew believed it worked better for the scene, and if you've seen the film, it's one of the most WTF moments too.
I want my cargo and the Duke.
I haven't got your pills. Just give me a day.
Don't piss in my pocket and tell me it's raining.
Another big change was the ending, in which Matthew goes on the record saying Sony Pictures wanted him to use Quadruple X driving off into the sunset with his new girlfriend. Vaughn secretly recorded the alternate ending, showing that he had been shot by Sydney, played by Ben Winshaw, to a screening audience. Based on the popular vote, he ended up using that one, and said it was not like any other American movie endings.
So I'm sure you gentlemen must have lots to discuss, but I have no business being here. Adios, amigo.
If you've seen this movie, you know of course it stars Daniel Craig, but he's not the only big name who went on to success. Let's take a look, shall we? First up is the late great Michael Gambon as Eddie Temple. Eddie's role is of the wealthy socialite and crime lord whose daughter goes missing. He's phenomenal here and is my standout as the best performance in the film.
13 what?
13 million pounds. I'm
Have you gone mad? 13
million? God, how could you be so stupid? You know, you've been right grafted, royally turned over like some yank buying London Bridge.
There's also Sienna Miller, who would be getting her first big break in movies. Unfortunately, she doesn't have too much to do, but every moment she's on screen, she's electrifying.
Who's your mate, Sydney?
He's a good mate of my uncle's, the Duke. He was just going.
Yeah, well, stick around and have a drink before you do, yeah?
Craig's partners in the film consist of George Harris, aka Kingsley Shacklebolt from the Harry Potter series, Colm Meaney from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and some great 90s actioners such as Con Air and Under Siege.
Oh. That's where playing at being a gangster gets you. You're not in there because I like you.
There's even a small role for Tom Hardy. Granted, he doesn't say a lot and kind of just exists in the background, but it's nice to see him be a part of one of the best British gangster films after coming off of Star Trek Nemesis. We also have Sally Hawkins as Slasher, the Duke's girlfriend. It's crazy to me how wonderful her range is here. We see her as a coked out drug dealer's girlfriend, then she would go on to play Mrs. Brown in the Paddington films. Perfection, if you ask me.
This is bollocks! That's a son of up!
There's also Kenneth Cranham as Jimmy Price, aka Craig's boss. Dexter Fletcher plays Cody. In the end of Layer Cake, he drives away with the infamous yellow Range Rover, but in Kick-Ass, he plays a character named Cody and gets crushed by a yellow Range Rover in a junkyard. Coincidence? Dexter would go on to direct Eddie the Eagle and the excellent Elton John biopic Rocket Man. Last but certainly not least is Ben Whishaw, who plays Sydney in the film. Ben has gone on to play in some big films like Bright Star, Cloud Atlas, take on the role of Paddington, and reunite with his buddy Daniel Craig in Skyfall, Spectre, and No Time to Die.
Not exactly Christmas, is it?
Were you expecting an exploding pen? We don't really go in for that anymore.
So if you really look at it, all of these actors basically work together with each other one way or another. I won't say credit is due to Matthew Vaughn in this production, but it is pretty cool to see this as a sort of springboard for a bunch of these people to appear again together.
I have no intention of going to Azkaban.
You may not like him, Minister, but you can't deny Dumbledore's got style.
Not only was the film produced and distributed by Sony Pictures Classic, but other production companies were used and born from this film too. Ska Films, launched in 1997 by Matthew and Guy Ritchie, produced all of the films they had worked on prior. Later in 2003, Matthew and Guy broke ties and rebranded from Ska Films to Marv Films. Layer Cake was the first production under the new banner. If you've seen any of Matthew Vaughn's films after this, you'll notice how prominent that production company is and has become for him. In December of 2021, it would further be rebranded to Marv Studios. Filming began in June 2003, and production spanned all around England as well as Amsterdam. Some scenes were shot at the Stoke Park House, which is the country club involving the meeting with Jimmy and also the infamous ending of the movie. So the same location was used in Goldfinger, where James Bond and Goldfinger play golf. Later on, Daniel Craig would give an interview saying Goldfinger was his favorite James Bond film. Foreshadowing much? There's also a scene towards the end of the film where Daniel's character meets with Eddie Temple in a warehouse. Because the warehouse was mostly empty, crates were added digitally to compensate. Another interesting piece of production history involves the opening montage, where Craig is seen walking through a pharmacy. He imagines all of the products are drugs branded with labels like FC UK Realty. FC UK stands for French Connection United Kingdom. The founder of that company, Stephen Marks, was the executive producer on this film. The cinematography on this film is nothing short of looking cool, sleek, and sometimes chaotic. Ben Davis was hired as the DP for this movie. He sets the tone so well. When everything is going right and according to plan, the camera feels as if it's on a steady course. Once things lose control, such as when the Duke steals the boxes of ecstasy, the camera feels unstable. Ben Davis and Matthew Vaughn had such a good working relationship during this film that he would be hired as his DP for Stardust, Kick-Ass, and The Kingsman. Davis's career has been nothing short of astounding, working on such Marvel films as Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, and even working together with Martin McDonagh on 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, 7 Psychopaths, and The Banshees of Inisherin.
Why don't you come round for breakfast? I'll squeeze some orange juice and grind some coffee and we can talk about this like adults. How does that sound?
Sounds very hospitable.
Do you know where I live?
No.
The soundtrack, as mentioned earlier, is stacked with perfect songs that capture the feel and tone of the film. We have songs from FC Kahuna, Joe Cocker, The Cult, Duran Duran, and Kylie Minogue. Like any good gangster film that tries to rip off Martin Scorsese, the Rolling Stones' Gimme Shelter makes an appearance in the film. Unfortunately though, it didn't appear on the film's soundtrack. Let's circle back to The Cult for a quick second for a little piece of production history as well. In the scene where Craig and George drive to see Jimmy at the Stoke Parkhouse Country Club, we hear the song She Sells Sanctuary playing. Vaughn states that it was intended to be a temporary track until something better was found, but they liked it so much that it remained in the final cut.
Think about that.
Layer Cake released in the United Kingdom on October 1st, 2004. It wouldn't expand to America until May 13th, 2005. Other countries would also see the film release around summer of 2005. Upon its theatrical release, it would receive an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics. Their consensus read, quote, "a stylized, electric British crime thriller." End quote. Roger Ebert would praise Matthew Vaughn, saying his directing here is better than the films he produced because it wasn't trying so hard to be clever, but it tries even harder to be menacing. Of course, everyone called Daniel Craig a fantastic actor and would consider him to be the standout part of the film. So even though the movie didn't gross like Marvel money at the box office, it still did fairly well. With a budget consisting of $6.5 million, you can convert that into pounds if you want, it would end its theatrical run with $11 million. Layer Cake was released on DVD and VHS on August 23, 2005, and later hit Blu-ray in 2007. Luckily, it didn't suffer the same fate of poor transfer and no extras like The Fifth Element did. For anyone who's interested, the Blu-ray has a gorgeous transfer, excellent audio, and some really fun bonus features. They consist of the making of the film, an informative Q&A with Daniel Craig and Matthew Vaughn, 14 deleted scenes, including the ending that Sony Pictures wanted Matthew Vaughn to keep in the film, as well as an excellent commentary track from Matthew Vaughn and J.J. Connolly. The movie would get nominated for a bunch of awards and would win the 2005 Empire Awards for Best British Director, as well as be recognized for excellence in filmmaking by the National Board of Review Awards.
So what's the next move, boss?
Well, I'm going to bed.
It's a movie that paved the way for pretty much everyone involved, especially Matthew Vaughn and Daniel Craig. While Craig has gone on to solidify his place as one of the best Bonds, he also has taken on some great roles, especially one playing as Benoit Blanc in Rian Johnson's Knives Out films. Needless to say, Daniel's career has been just fine. Matthew Vaughn as well has made a huge name for himself. He went on to direct X-Men First Class, Kingsman the Secret Service, and Kingsman the Golden Circle, its sequel, The King's Man, which is a prequel to the Kingsman series, as well as Kick-Ass. Let's not forget his beautiful film that he followed up from Layer Cake with, Stardust. To sum it all up, Layer Cake is a great movie due to its combination of a compelling plot, strong performances, stylish cinematography, a beautiful soundtrack, as well as holding its own as a significant and influential film in the British crime thriller genre. All of these elements, as well as its enduring popularity, make it a well-regarded and engaging piece of cinematic history. And that's what the happened to Layer Cake.
I mean, I hate guns. Although that one is really pretty.
Before the credits roll, we here at JoBlo thought it would be best to end this episode properly by having Michael Gambon deliver to you not only the best quote in the entire film, but one of the best quotes that has ever been said on film. Enjoy, and thanks for watching.
You're born, you take shit. Get out in the world, you take more shit. Climb a little higher, take less shit. Till one day you're up in the rarefied atmosphere and you've forgotten what shit even looks like.
Welcome to the Layer Cake, son.